Hi, I'm Landon with Awards Watch, and I'm here today with Robert Rippberger and Jim Capobianco talking about everything the inventor, the new stop motion animation that is sure to set your world on fire. How are you doing today, guys?
Doing
Good,
great.
good. Landon, thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks
I
for
am
having
so
us.
glad to be talking to you. Robert, we've met before on your
Indeed.
previous films. But Jim, I mean, it goes without saying that I think many people, the majority of audiences agree that Ratatouille, a film you directed in your past, is probably one of the best animation films ever to grace the silver screen. And I know you hear that a lot, but I can see that passion that goes into this as well. And it's just really exciting to be here and discuss this with you both.
Oh, thank you, Landon. Thanks for so much. Yeah, it's an honor to be associated with Ratatouille. It was a real pleasure to make that film. Thank you.
Yeah, no, and
I'm
absolutely.
just want to correct you. I did not direct it. I just was one of the writers. So just want
Oh, you just wrote
to,
it.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you were on there
I
as
don't
the
want Brad Bird
lead.
getting on me that I'm taking his thunder. So
Oh, yeah. I don't want to take his thunder. And Robert as well. This is coming to you next. What made you guys think about getting into stop motion? What attracted you into the stop motion space?
Well, for me, it was more the subject matter of the film. It's about Leonardo da Vinci, and I thought the proper way to make it would be with the handcrafted art form of stop motion as well as drawn animation, because stop motion it involves a lot of physical art forms, and you make the sculptures of the puppets. You make an armature inside the puppet that's a skeleton. It's made of metal, which has to be crafted by hand. You don't find the stuff off the shelves. The sets, obviously everything's built, and it felt Da Vincian to me. And obviously the drawings for drawn animation, because you see his sketches and all that stuff, and we really use the sketches as like a jumping off point.
Oh, I like that. So the theme of the invention and the innovation is a kind of a theme that flows throughout this project. Not
Yeah,
only
through the creativity too
I
of the
really like that. And what about you, Robert? What was your thoughts on stop motion? I know you haven't really had any experience with animation before, right? This is probably your first animation, and more so, what drew you to the stop motion space?
Yeah, it really first foray into stop motion. And I think what was so really amazing about watching these artists work is there's kind of these little Da Vinci's all throughout the project, and the animation, and just the little books. I mean, we recreated the Sistine Chapel at 1/5 scale, and to yeah, just watch all of these artists come together around Da Vinci, about Da Vinci, but also really kind of capture yeah, his legacy, and what it is to do art and to reflect on life. It really was a lot about process on this one. And stop motion it takes a lot of time. It's about 3 seconds per animator per day. And so not like a live action where you jump in and jump out. And it was, yeah, it was really a fantastic team, and a fantastic topic to spend that much time on.
No, and you can really tell, like my previous comment, how the innovation really enhanced the storytelling with the inventor. Can you talk a little bit more about the collaborative process between you and Jim and what that was like? Can you talk about a little bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, from the very beginning, it was central for Jim to tell an independent story outside of Pixar, outside of the studio system. And so that was my goal in producing this, is really to put everything around in place so that we could really explore and do things differently and think outside the box. And anytime there were partners that were asking too many questions or trying to get a little bit too involved, it was to sort of put
Yeah.
that to the side, and really just allow for the space for this to be really a unique independent film.
Yeah, Robert was very good at protecting me from from the process that's not the creative process. Well, it's creative in a different way, finding money, but yeah, the letting me to just concentrate on the film, the story, eventually working with the artists and everything else. So he was a real God there, God figure for me to like protect me from everyone. And the idea is that looking for money for this. It was really Robert getting out there and pounding the pavement. We traveled all over the world, I think, to find money, and it's a truly independent film. I think we can't emphasize that enough. Like, we did a Kickstarter, we had friends and family giving money. It's that kind of classic indie film that you read about and you get excited about, in that sense of like, wow, they got their uncle to put money into that film, and it's on credit cards and all that stuff. And then it's a real testament to what Robert was able to pull off here.
Yep, Robert's the man. But other than financial, obstacles and challenges, what were some other challenges that you guys had to face when it comes to stop motion or telling this story?
I feel like, one of the challenges was our budget was extremely low, so we really needed to think smart and economically how to pull off this film, which I think when people see it, you'll see that it is like beyond our budget. It's just it's so rich. And I think that was a challenge for me. It was, I've worked at these studios where it always seemed like you had unlimited budgets. Um, so for this to know, okay, we have this amount of money, it's not that much. I need to think really smart. And we had great people on it, Kat Alyoshin, who was our line producer, and then also my co-director, Pierre-Luc Grandjean. They really planned out the film like perfectly in order for us to make it within the time we had and also the budget we had. So to me, that was one of the big challenges. We had to deal with COVID as well, several times. Just getting started in the development phase. We pitched it at Cartoon Movie in that March of when everything was going to hell with COVID. It was all starting. And then from that point on, we just had to do development remotely. And then eventually it's a stop motion project too. So everybody has to eventually get in-house to make it. You can't do it remotely. Luckily, eventually the restrictions sort of ebbed away. So once everybody could get together, we just went. But then twice during production, we had to shut down because we had a COVID outbreak. So one time we lost all of our animators. So we can't make an animated movie without animators. So
That's just stop motion. You need all hands on deck because the details, the characters are so intricate. The designs were incredible. And talk a little bit about those creative decisions behind those character designs. Which influenced those characters? Why did you select those characters? And what inspired them?
Yeah, for sure. The design was inspired by my childhood and looking at the old Rankin and Bass Christmas specials and just loving that. The simplicity in their design, even in the sets, the way the sets are handled. If you look at Rudolph, even the food is like everything is the same color in the background, and the props are all gray. So the characters really pop out. So we didn't do that in the film, but there's a simplicity to our to the whole look of it, the style. And I mean that not simplicity in a bad way. I mean that in a really smart way and an appealing way and in a sense of design. It was all thought through to make sure it looked right, but also what we benefited from was because there wasn't over designed, it fit within our budget and we could get it done. So it all worked as a real thought to make the film work properly. So definitely, the Rankin and Bass stuff. Also, there's a older European stop motion, Jiri Trinka, Carl Zeman. They all come out of like the Czech school of stop motion. And even my own co-director, Pierre-Luc Grandjean's films, he's worked in stop motion his whole career, and beautiful films. Four Seasons of Leon is his film series. And those two were a big inspiration for me, and they're very like charming, and the look was right on. So
And do you have any advice for any aspiring filmmakers who are thinking about bridging this intersection between creativity and technology and may want to take the leap into stop motion? Would you say go for it, it was fun, or would you say maybe do a regular animation, slow motion?
no, I would say go for it. I mean, stop motion in a way is one of the easiest forms to jump into because all you need is a camera and you could take objects around you to move around. So you can really start to learn. A lot of younger people learn stop motion or learn animation through stop motion. So it's the earliest form of animation too. It pretty much dates back to the originate of film being invented. So in a way, it's kind of the most accessible. So I think, yeah, go for it. And the good thing about stop motion is it never ages. Like computer animation, because the technology keeps getting better always, it starts to date itself. So stop motion animation looks like it did way back when. So it's a great form. I totally like it. And I think it's somewhat of a mythology that it's harder to do or takes more time or more money. It's just placed in different areas of the production. So stop motion needs a lot of pre-production and a lot of work. So you have to build those sets, the puppets, and a lot of planning. But once you get going and you film it, it's done pretty much. I mean, you have things like removal and you have to clean it up a little bit, but it's pretty much done. I mean, you could plan your shots that it's like in the can. So, um, unlike the other processes, like once you animate in 2D, you have processes after it. You have to clean up the drawings, you have to paint them, all that stuff. CG animation is the same where you move everything, but then you have to add the shaders and the lighting and the textures and all that stuff. So there's just it's different places, and animation is just a pain in the butt. No matter how you do it, it takes time. It's
But you
just
guys nailed it. Robert, would you agree with that? Would you say that, pretty much it was a fun experience, and you would advise other filmmakers to kind of follow in these footsteps?
Yeah, I mean, I would largely say, to really just jump in there, and as Jim mentioned, it is very accessible to do stop motion. I remember when I was a kid, I just took model cars and sort of slowly and kind of like turn, they would flip over and fly through the air. And I think what this film really lends to is a director who really is involved at every step of the process, and to start early and be engaged. And I mean, that's really what it is to be an auteur and to have your vision. And we look at these huge blockbuster films and often kind of lose track of what the film is saying or what the sort of individual touches. And Jim did the character designs, he did the storyboards, so intricately involved in the music, the development, the writing, the directing. So that's really, for those interested in animation, it's accessible, to start very kind of minimal with stop motion, and certainly, to keep exploring their vision and learning as much about really every aspect of film, because that's a tool that you can use to really convey your message and your truth.
Yeah, well said. Absolutely. And now about your truth, there's a lot of themes. Innovation is one recurring theme throughout this, but the film does take a kind of a philosophical turn, especially in the second and third act. And these ideas of, these philosophical kind of broad ideas of, humanity and forgiveness and just these widespread thoughts. What inspired you to kind of put those little Easter eggs in the narrative? And what has been the overall reaction that you've gotten from audiences that have screened this, both from kids all the way up to adults? Because I think there's a lot of adult content in there, which I think elevates any animation, on the level of Pixar. And we look at last year's Oscar winner, Best Animation of Pinocchio, which was also stop motion. So I kind of want to know the other themes that were in there. What made you decide to go forward with those, and what was your selection process like?
Well, for me, like you mentioned, Pixar, we always looked at how do we tell these stories that could appeal to a broader audience and that wouldn't put adults to sleep or that they want to run out of the theater and just let their kids watch it. So we always looked at how to, tell those stories. So I really wanted to do that the same with the Inventor. I look at it as like if you develop it in a way that has multiple levels to it, that children can come in at one level, maybe the look of it, the charm, the humor, pulls them in, but then maybe they don't understand everything in it, and that's okay. And I don't like to make things that talk down to children because I think they're much smarter than we give them credit for.
I agree.
And I feel like because it's layered, that the next time they see the film when they're older, they'll get more from it. And then when they get older and they share it with their families, then they get more and more from it. So an adult can come in at their, level and get even more. And I think the reaction's been really well received. I mean, I hear from friends who like their 5-year-old saw it and they just loved it. And then I did a screening for my uncle, his retirement home. We did like a little screening for about 100 people at his retirement home. It was all older people, obviously, and they really loved it. They really like, and I would imagine they're not like the most into animation group, but they just really cued into the themes and everything and the look and the charm, and they really like responded really positively. So I think it is appealing. I mean, it's a very unique film though, and I think some people may enter into it looking for a different story or different way it's told, and maybe they'll react differently. But I think if you're open to the experience and the storytelling in the film, I think people get a lot out of it, and it seems like it's been the case.
Yeah, there's certainly a lot there. Robert, how about you? What would you like audience to take from The Inventor?
Yeah, I mean, what we've heard so far is, people have lauded it as the most beautiful film of the year. It's been on Oscar lists already, and this is a movie about Da Vinci, somebody who is one of the greatest artists and scientists, maybe the world's ever seen. I mean, you just click into his Wikipedia page and there's so many aspects of what he did. And this film is mostly historically accurate. Obviously, it's an animated film, there's some liberties, but the film is really meant to find who is Da Vinci and really explore that. And he is philosophical. He is, ingenious and has contraptions, but there is that depth to him. And that's what I think Jim, so expertly discovered and presented. And, yeah, lots of layers, and hopefully people will watch and rewatch for years to come.
Yeah, I really wanted to tell a story about Da Vinci as a human being and not just the genius we put up on the pedestal. And so to kind of bring him down to our level a bit so that people might reflect and see themselves within Leonardo da Vinci and not always at a distance. And so I really wanted to touch that. And so I think the themes in it are themes that are universal and that probably we all think about at some point in our lives and wonder about, and definitely how we interact with each other. And the main theme of the film is about legacy and what you leave behind and how you do affect others in your life and who you meet, whether positively or negatively, and you have that choice. So um that's kind of where it lands. It's very human.
It is. It's
Very
a
human.
very human story. And to your point, I think entering at different levels, whether you're a child, a 5-year-old, or whether you're a senior citizen at the retirement home,
Mhm.
you can all extract value from this film because those themes are so universal, right? It's about humanity. It's about that longing for a sense of purpose and connection. And the way that you've done this, it's such a beautiful portrayal, and you've made it so easily digestible for everyone of all ages, which is a mark of true intelligence, to take really complex ideas and to make them very easily digestible. So
Thank
it's
you.
really exciting, and I can't wait for all the kids to see this, because I mean, hopefully it inspires them to be little Leonardo da Vinci's, because they're
Yeah,
not
that's awesome.
intimidated by it. They're just excited and inspired by it.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. I'd love that.
That's what the world needs, you know?
Yeah, that would be
Everyone needs to
almost
see The
success right
Inventor.
there. Yes, they do.
Yeah. And if there's one film, animation, best animation of the year, that really has a message that can really create social impact, I mean, it's this one. It's the history. It's the power of the Pope, and seeing what that like. Absolute power corrupts, absolutely. And then back to the human of just, we're just all looking for that sense of purpose and connection as humans. So beautiful film.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much for making it. I can't wait to see what's next from both of you guys. Anything on the docket or on the agenda after the Inventor? Any projects in the works that you want to talk about a little bit?
For me, it's like getting through this PR and
Just get you
awards.
the press, and we'll get you to the Oscars, and then we can worry about the next project.
Yeah, I know next year is going to be good. I mean, this has all been great. No, I don't want to demean it. It's been a fantastic ride. So,
Yeah. Robert, anything?
Yeah,
exciting?
lots in the works. Lots
In the works. Always. Robert's a busy guy,
indeed.
very busy guy. Well, I'm excited. Thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today, and
Yeah.
I look forward to seeing you guys at the Oscars.
I really
Thanks,
appreciate
guys.
it, Landon. Thank you.
Thank you.